I was able to do very little research, but I didn't have to do research because your friend told me all about you. And I'm excited to talk to you just because you've had achieved success in different fields. Like you wrote a book about inner logic, engineering your life on Amazon. And I read the reviews and people are absolutely like, there's nothing bad. It's like 5 stars. And actually, I feel like this book should be like higher. Like, I don't know why not that many people have left the reviews. And I feel like when I'm going to get it and I want to read it and I want to, because sometimes I feel like if it's a celebrity, everybody goes for it. But if it's somebody who is not on the red carpet, doesn't mean that they don't have the knowledge. Does it make sense? Like, So then you have this incredible company, BlockFrame, which is a cybersecurity, which I'm sure that the competition is fierce. It's like a Shark Tank.
Actually, there is absolutely no one in the world that does what we do in BlockFrame. I have to associate myself to it too. So there's absolutely no one in this world who does that. Everybody thinks cybersecurity at this level. The way we envision cybersecurity is way up high there. So if we don't get kudos, my thought process, and I believe Chris's thought process is the same, is people don't understand. Because if they do, they know that we are up there, or even higher. So there's absolutely no one in the world who does that.
Yeah, but they're thinking of doing it probably, or they're doing it to a little smaller scale, whatever that is, because every website needs to be secured, every bank needs to be secured. That's what I'm saying, right?
Right. The technology is, yes. You're right. The technology
That's what I meant.
is something different. Yeah.
And the fact that where your company is, that's an exceptional. And there's so many other things. You have your host, New Cyber Frontier, and you got your degree. What was it?
So I'm still working on my Ph.D, but I graduate in December. So
yeah, well, that is like a month and a half away. I don't think you're not gonna get it.
Yeah,
no, I'm gonna get it. So you just can't claim it, I think, officially. I don't know how that works, but
yeah. I still have to sign my paperwork, because I'm sorry, I'm
yeah, my advisors haven't signed off on it yet, so I'm not sure if they're all going to go down that route.
No, I mean your thesis was exceptional, and your defense was even better than that. So,
and I mean that's amazing. And I'm gonna have the question about the mindset, because in order to be successful in so many ventures, there's something common between all of them. Like I don't know how to explain it. I don't think it's the drive, but I feel it's some instance, or whether it's the confidence or the mindset of knowing I opened this shop for coffee and I know I'm going to be successful and you're successful, and I know start this business and I know I'm going to be successful, because there's so many entrepreneurs where they have successful businesses and they're not similar. It can be completely different, but I feel they share one thing that is so common between all of them, that they know they're going to be successful. Probably, of course, the mindset is a main thing, and associating with the right people and so on and so forth. But I want to ask you, what made you start the BlockFrame company?
Made me start the BlockFrame company was that are we in the interview now? I guess.
Yes.
we are. Okay. So we're going back and forth with some action. I didn't know we were actually in the interview. So what made me start BlockFrame was that the world needs something that doesn't exist. I worked in cybersecurity for so many years, and people are all screaming for the same thing. And they're all trying the opposite thing. And 95% of the people are heading in a direction that is proven not to work, thinking if they keep trying more of it, it will eventually work. I started BlockFrame because I couldn't continue to be in that lifestyle and be the leading expert in a cycle of convincing people that we needed more of something that didn't work. And I had to take a step back and say, if I had to design from the ground up what works, I have to just stop trying to fight in the same circle that everybody else is going in and go to a place where I can begin. And it took a lifetime of what I had been working on to get all the pieces. So I started it because I might be the only one that can do it. And it is my responsibility to do it. And that is kind of the reason why I started BlockFrame.
That's really well said, because do you feel that all the successful, whether it's a product, business, brand, have been started and they're successful because the people needed that?
I would say that a lot of people find the thing that somebody does need and that they can continuously put in front of more people that need the same thing and grow. Um, so, in most terms, yes. I mean, you don't get to a point where you continuously hit what people want in the market without having something they want. I would say there's a difference between the thing that they want and the thing that they need sometimes. And they don't know they need something until they see it, even though they want something that is not that thing that they will eventually want when they see it and they need. So there's that kind of separation that has been my focus as far as what I accomplished with my life. But the biggest reason why I'm accomplishing something is because I realized at some point, and I can tell you exactly when it was. I almost died. I went through a heart attack when I was pretty young, and I realized, and after the fact, I said, what would I have meant to the world if I would have not survived that time? And the results were I wouldn't have meant anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I had spent my life till that point trying to be the center of what everybody thought was right, to try to be the best in what everybody else was doing, to try to get a pile of things for myself. And after my pile was gone, nothing that I had done would have sustained time. And I determined that when I go the next time, I'm going to be able to say something different. That what I worked on from that point until the end of my time is something that means something to everybody.
Yeah, I feel like it's so important looking back. Every time I'm making a decision and I'm thinking, if I'm 80 years old now and my life is almost gone, am I going to be proud of the certain things that I've done? What am I leaving behind? And I feel like you're coming from the same place. You want to leave some sort of legacy, some inspiration, something for the next generation, that they're grateful for, because your product is a need, it's not a want.
Or what I've worked on might not be able to be accomplished in the amount of time I have left. But I started something that I can say I worked towards something that meant something. I didn't just take for myself to where I meant nothing to existence.
Do you think that like something this that happened to you with your health, because I've heard many interviews that happened with people and they're completely changing their mindset and their why. Do you feel like that you're glad that this happened, so you're on the path that you're right now and you're living your true happiness and true life and true, like, your true self?
True self. I would say that when people go through challenging times like that, they have to evaluate and they have to look at things that they've never looked at before. And what they decide from that point on, whether you call it your true self or just resolving something, it comes from a point of self-reflection. Whether you look at an Eastern philosophy, or whether you just go internal, or whether you pick up a self-help book, or you just evaluate what's worked for me, and then say I'm going to be more effective at that. That's kind of the approach I guess you do kind of all three of those sometimes. but it definitely, there usually is some kind of a major turning point that hits people. And it's usually triggered by something. It can be internal, it can be external, that makes you the person you're gonna be instead of the person you were.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I have written down questions, but I also love when I talk to somebody to ask them for whatever they're saying. So I want it to be very easy. I don't want it to be like CNN interview with very complicated wording. So, having many successful businesses, where do you get your motivation from?
Okay, so whenever I went through my reflection, I jotted down some notes at first, and then it turned into I'm going to write a letter to my son because it might not be around next year. And I got 1,000 pages into that letter, and people started trying to, convince me to publish some of it. So I wrote a book, and you talked about it, called Inner Logic: Engineering Your Life. It is about a individual's journey and the empowerment that we go through and how we go through it. And I found that I could really separate that process into three pieces. You have to have a path that you can continuously move forward on without ever reaching the end of it. The second thing is a process of inside at every step in your path of being able to look at more things and define more things in the future than you have already. So for every one thing I accomplish, I design two things that I can add to the future. A continuous path of what I call looking past where you are. And the third thing is you have to enjoy the process. You have to find a way that you enjoy the effort, the time spent, the work in each of the steps of the things required to get you there. A lot of people call it a 10,000 hour rule, that nothing becomes successful. Nothing has notoriety till it has 10,000 hours or more. But you won't get there unless you enjoy every hour that you do. You enjoy the conversation with somebody like yourself that's brand new, that I'd spend an hour to say, I want to learn and understand somebody new. And it helps me because I learn something new from every single person. That's enjoying the process that made us spend this hour. Other than that, it's a wasted hour, right? If you can't enjoy the process. And people that say, I'm going to do something and sit and stare at the pages forever, because they haven't found a way to enjoy doing the hour of time that takes them to get there. But if you have those three things lined up, the path that is infinite, and a lot of people set goals. I say, don't set goals, because a goal puts on the blinders. The closer you get to finishing, the less you look at the future. A goal would be, if I want to head to Chicago, right? The path would be, I want to go east and meet a different city with every step. It never ends. I can continuously do that. Once I get around the world, I start again, and that's a path. And then determining the next two cities you're going to go to. Every time you move to a city, pick the next two. You move one, pick two more past that. Pretty soon you have an infinite possibilities, and you have a path designed out. And then you have to enjoy walking down the road, that the actual pieces of it. Put those three things together in whatever field you're in. That's what triggers people to be successful.
Absolutely. The things that success can be measured. I mean, success for you may be certain things, for me may be different things, for Subash may be completely different things. For stay-at-home mom, success will be like to have 6 hours of sleep. And I feel like the society pressures us so much about what is success. And sometimes the more you listen, the more you lose yourself, because they tell you success is this amount of money in the bank account or this amount of houses, instead of what really makes you happy. Success is, for me, is if I'm internally happy. And that's why I'm still striving for this, because this is not something like, oh, today I'm happy, it's all good, I meditated for 10 minutes, my kids are in school. This is 24/7 work, because they come from school angry for whatever reason, and my energy from here goes here, and I'm on a fight mode with them. And you constantly have to fight with yourself, like, let it go, let this energy go, let it go. But it is hard. It's not easy. And whether you have kids, whether they're young or old, whether the kids are out of your house, there must be something. There will be a dog barking and you can start being mad about it or whatever that is, because we're humans. And at the same time, we want to be like, let it go, just breathe, let this energy go. So with that being said, how do you keep yourself like healthy mind? Like, do you do meditation? Do you like anything spiritual? Do you like to stay outside with the nature when you really, whether it's to just relax or reflect on your day, week, success, whatever that is?
Mm-hmm. You know, my big thing is probably physical activity. Um, you know, maybe going to the gym, maybe walking. I've found that in the process of my my thinking, because my job is very mentally, you know, tasking. I'm always thinking about advanced topics. That's if I just continuously do all the time, I get frustrated because I get that short-sighted. I'm not thinking that second piece of what I told you about looking past where you are. I have to take time, and I think that's a lot of times what relaxing is whatever you do, it's your process of stopping the activity to look at the next two steps past where you're at. And the more often you do that, the more things you have planned in the future that you can do. And then you have potential different directions. But it's that resolving and like I said, physical activity, working out, walking, biking is something I like to do. But it's usually different for different people. Some people, if you're an extrovert, might enjoy going to a crowd, going to a party, going out and cutting loose. That would be tasking for me. That would be more like work for me. I go out by myself, and sometimes I'll sit in the middle of a crowd and do nothing, but just have the energy around me because I know that people need human interaction, but I can balance myself and be a lot of times I'm introverted. Um, but I need that time to think, but I'll surround myself with people. Whatever it is that you do, it has to be something that balances you. If you're one personality or another, you have to know that what you are and what makes you kind of balanced in the moment or for even over time. Yeah.
And being in a good place. You got to find what makes you be in a good place, in a healthy place. So you probably throughout your life, you've met very many successful people. Subhash is one of them. So what do you think is the common mindset all of you guys share? You and all your friends or whoever you know, like something that is very common for the mindset.
Persistence. One word.
Very good word.
So when you start something, are you always 100% sure it's going to work?
No, but I start a process. I start those three items. I enjoy what I'm doing. And a lot of times I don't care if it works or not.
Mhm.
So
I
the
like that.
first person that stacked up 2 blocks didn't have the idea of making a house. They were just stacking blocks.
Right? No, I like that. It's very interesting because sometimes we feel we have to do something for the outcome, not because it's going to make us happy.
Yeah, the things done for the outcome will often fail. The things done for your own enjoyment and for meeting, like I said, those three things, you have to know the direction, know the path, have a plan of continuously making a way to make the future successful. Then you just have to enjoy the Forrest Gump. I just went running, you know, it doesn't, you have to enjoy that process of the thing that gets you to success.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, every kid, when we were growing up as kids, we are told certain things, certain beliefs. What is something, if you remember, significant that you felt later on in the age you had to unlearn and learn your own way? I don't know if it makes sense the way I'm asking the question.
The biggest thing is that nobody's inside your mind. There's not a control structure of something you have to worry about being inside of there. Even if you have voices in your head and things going on, it's all you. You know, to fight some imaginary foe that's inside of your own body is something that so many of us do. And that's what I had to unlearn.
I agree. And I feel like sometimes the self-sabotage in a way, do you know, because of COVID, I feel a lot of people have learned a lot of things about themselves because we had the time to reflect and think. And I was always told that if you're born artist and you're really good at art, that's it. You cannot learn the art. If you're good at gardening, you're good. But if you're not good, you cannot learn it. And then I start challenging myself with this and that. And honestly, like, it's so wrong. Like, if you have the passion for something, you're going to get better and better and better rather than being told, well, you haven't been born with this talent. I don't think you're going to be good at. And now I try to do some art, and every day I was getting better. I was terrible at gardening, even though I've always loved flowers. But then I start getting better and better. And I have questions asking me, people are asking me, so probably you've always been really good. I'm like, no, I was killing a tomato plant. Like, I was killing everything. So I feel like this is the mentality a lot of people have because of our parents, grandparents, or the society. It's like, you're either born with this talent or not. And I just dislike it so much. And I tell my kids, if you want to do something, just do it. Like just go for it. If you have the passion for it and you put the hard work, who cares if you're going to be the best musician in the world or not? You just have fun doing it. You're not going to be like, I feel like we do something because we feel, oh, we will be judged. Somebody's going to say, you're a terrible artist. I'm not going to post this online. I'm not going to do this. But the bottom line is like, why do we care what they think? They're not paying my bills. They're not my friends. Actually, people don't even know us. Like, even if people know us throughout this conversation, they don't know who we are behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So why would we let somebody judge us based on like picture or a little video of us or something like that? So I think that's something that I'm trying to kind of inspire the young generation.
Yeah, I hear you resolving that in your own self as you're asking the question. I would say there was something I was extremely bad at. And I realized that I needed that influence in my life to be successful. So I started practicing and I started engaging in this activity because it was probably the worst thing I had ever done. I thought I will never have to do this. Let me just go through life without it. And I had people that will say had some laughs at my expense because of how bad I was at it quite often in my early life. And I did decide I just would never do it. And then I said, okay, I need this influence in my life. In order to be at the point where I see other people that have been successful in the area I want to be in, I have to be able to do this thing. So I started practicing, and my first 100 attempts were very bad. And it was miserable. And those things I would not show to anybody except for that I have. So I was extremely bad at talking to people. And I
Really?
said, I'm going to do a show where I talk to people, and I had a hard time articulating in the moment. I would lose my thoughts and get frustrated. And, if somebody asked me a question, my brain would go blank. And I was like, I need to learn to be at least navigable in an articulate sense in order to survive my industry, to have the clout that I need to have, that I would like to have, to be someone that people can respect and listen to. I have to have a portfolio of 500 podcasts out there.
It's very interesting.
And it was my weakest skill when I was younger.
And that proves again the point that you can learn anything. If you have the drive and the goal, or whatever we want to call it, you can.
So most people will say, in order for me to do something and put it out there, it needs to be perfect. So I'm going to work on this and make it perfect, and then it'll go out when it's perfect. And my advice is just the opposite. No matter what you do is not going to be perfect when you put it out there. All right. So what makes things perfect is you just start putting it out there, and you get practice at it, and you get competent at it. And then your 100th one is the level of the one that somebody waited 10 years to put out, except for now you have 100. And what does it look like on the outside?
Exactly. You know, yesterday I had this conversation with our team, with the fencers, and you know, sometimes I was just telling them something. The thing is that for me, it's like more life lessons that I'm trying to teach them than anything else, because if they don't have a confidence outside, regardless of what I teach them right now, it won't matter. And I told them, I want to make sure when you guys are fencing with your opponents, they don't think you got a lucky point. Because I need you to understand, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Let them think it's a lucky point, but behind this lucky point is all these years of hard work. It might take one tournament to turn everything around, but that's why it's worth it. That's why you got to keep going, because you don't know when is the light at the end of the tunnel, right? You got to keep pushing. Maybe an hour from now, it may be a day from now. We don't know, but you got to have something to the drive, and that's why you have goals, so you have a little bit of drive. I want to do well on this tournament. You keep doing that and this and that. But the other thing is that I always tell them not to let any tournament or results define them and their life, because I feel like the sports with us right now, because that's where they are teaching them something, and that's a stepping stone to something bigger. And whether you get into Princeton, Harvard, or a local college, and if you want to be a doctor, you still can be the best doctor in the world. And I think that's what gives them a peace of mind, is like, oh, okay, so I don't have to stress out if I'm not accepted to college A or college B. And I feel like for me, it has been such a turning point, the mindset, because I have been struggling, that I hope they don't have that like I did. I was talking bad to myself. I was just calling myself things that I'll never call anybody in my life. But I never had somebody to tell me it's okay. You still can be successful. It might not be that way. You didn't make it to the Olympics, but you still can do it a different way. And I feel like I told my fencers, if you tell me now I can win Olympic medal or be where am I at, I will never choose the medal, because the medal is something very temporary. You're happy for 5 minutes. After those 5 minutes of fame or whatever you want to call it, you're back to regular life. Some people won't even recognize you ever. So it's very important for them to know what is really important for them, and they're growing. And I really hope that they're strong personalities and find their happiness in true calling early, because earlier it's easier than later, because then you're gonna look around like a maniac. But I don't know, maybe that's my mission. I don't know, but I'm happy doing it and I'm loving doing it.
Yeah. I'd say whenever I quit trying to worry about what other people were looking for, and like I chose a university to go to because I liked working with the people I like to work with, that I wanted to work with. I looked at a couple of universities to do, and it's just an example, to look at for my Ph.D. And some very prestigious universities were on that list. And I could have decided to go to a university that has a big name, or I could decide to go to a university and my work will give it a big name.
That's
And
really
I
well
look at things in the latter. How does what I accomplish impact the rest of the perception? Because those perceptions people have at a big university are just because a lot of people that had the mindset I just talked about with me went to that university in the past. It doesn't have anything to do with what it is now, except for that it attracts people who are following the path of other people. You can be either, but until you can be the one that says, I don't really care, I'm blazing my own, and here's the process for doing it, you're not going to get there.
I agree. Yeah, that's really, I mean, I like the way you said it. I'm gonna start writing down like those quotes, and then
That's why
underneath.
you record them.
Yes, yes, yes. No, I will. And I like that, because sometimes something so little can change your day, can change your week or life. Some people are liking those kind of things. That's why, like, if I don't feel like my energy is kind of up, I'm going to look through some online quotes and something to keep me up, because we need that help. I mean, we need each other, and we need the inspiration daily. I want to ask you, what will be the advice you're going to give your younger self?
My younger self would be to um, it's hard to narrow down one of those things, because everything I've been talking about is that book I wrote to my younger self and my son, and it was targeted towards my son. When they edited it, they had to pull out a bunch of things that were a little too personal for general public, and they still missed quite a bit of them. I found out from people that that I might have overstated things about or for. But that's at some point the what you've done shows for itself. Um, and you can't look for that before you've done it.
That's good, because we're always looking for the end goal, how it's gonna look like. You don't know how it's gonna look like. Just start. It's not gonna be pretty, it's not gonna be perfect, but I think it's gonna shape its way. It's supposed to shape its way. And you're gonna leave your character in it. So what is the meaning of happiness for you?
The meaning of happiness is that I'm continuously moving in my direction and improving the position I'm at. So that I enjoy what I'm doing on a continued basis. And I have a path where I can not be limited and I don't ever run out of things to do. So for me, it's kind of that continued process of, whenever I'm done with everything, I'm done with life. So what is the happiness is the path and the journey. And it really is back to those three things I told you about. I have more than I could ever do in a lifetime. I have ways, and I'm helping to have more people to define more of the future continuously. And I just I enjoy what I'm doing. I like getting up in the morning and going to work.
So
And
do you have,
that's success.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't
that's
want.
happiness. Go ahead.
So do you have a favorite book, podcast, or a movie that has been inspiring you?
Just recently I was turned on to an older book, and it kind of, I think it's turned me on the next kind of direction I'll add to my path for influences, things I've never thought I would ever do or be good at. And it might be that it's like my podcast in the future. But a good friend of mine turned me on to an older book written, I think, 1959, called Atlas Shrugs. And it was about economics. It was, there was a story, but inside the story was hidden an economics and a political message. And, I never thought I'd be interested in politics or even cared, but it seems like that this has kind of turned my thought process to where I've even picked up a couple lateral books to get into that further on the same area. And I think I'm interested in that. Maybe there's something I have to give back to society on a bigger picture than just my work that I leave it. And we'll leave it at that. I mean, one of my biggest mentors is an ex-senator. We work close together, and has inspired me in many ways. And I would say this is the latest that I think that's a new path that I'm adding in as an influence into my life.
And I don't think it's a coincidence. Nothing happens by coincidence. And I think you're at the right time, at the right place. And that's why I'm assuming it's happening.
We'll see. The thing with being successful is success usually gets in the way of your enjoyment process. So, which is why most people that have got a lot of success, sometimes they fall apart because that what got them there, the continuation of those three areas and the enjoying it and the routine is interrupted by the influx of people congratulating you, wanting to pull you a different way, throwing a million different advertisements at you, advertisements. We'll say I like that word better because it's like pulling your attention everywhere, and it disrupts you from what got you there in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, Honestly, thank you so much. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. Um,
Enjoy this.
I mean, I learned so much, and I'm gonna rewatch this over and over again and pick up certain phrases because you said a couple things, but I didn't want to start writing down. Um, because I do love those conversations because they fill me with excitement and energy, and there's so much, I want to share with everybody, like your personality and Subhash and what we're talking about, things that are actually important in life, you know what I mean? Not the material the stuff that goes behind the scenes, and you following your calling and path, and be grateful and humble and all those things, quality that I cherish so much in people. If you want to say something, I don't interrupt you.
No, I think that you are very talented at this giving people an accolade. And that is something that will do well for you as a podcaster, where you take what was said and you reverberate it in an accolade that's, whether it is or not, it sounds like you're personally touched. And that is something that will come across to your audience and it will help you in what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I do hope that it helps because I do it for everything I do. I want to have a meaning and purpose. I don't do stuff because let me just try a podcast, because that takes time and energy. But I do want to help, and I've always been like this with my athletes, and they've always saying, "When is your podcast coming?" When? And I wasn't even planning before doing podcast, and now they want to mic me during practices because when I do like those speeches, and there's like, "Can we mic you up so we post on YouTube?" I'm like, I don't have time for that. If somebody wants to put a microphone, I'm never gonna say something that's gonna hurt anybody's feeling. It's more for inspiration. But yeah, I really, really appreciate you, and I hope we're gonna meet in person one day on your whatever achievements you do. And Subhash, I really, really appreciate you as a friend. And we're gonna see when we're gonna schedule the next like a Zoom
We've been
meeting.
thinking about meeting for the past 3 years. So
I know.
yeah.
But at least we have phones and videos,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Chris and I don't know how to say this, but it's a different level of mindset.
Yeah.
That 2 or 3 weeks go by. I haven't spoken with Chris, or Chris hasn't spoken with me. It's kind of like you crave for talking to him, or and then we get along, and then when last time we haven't spoken for a month, and then when we got together, it's like we've been meeting every single day. So it's our conversations are totally at a different level, and every single time we meet, it's like I learn a thing or two from him, and he learns a thing or two from me. So I mean, it's always a learning process, And a couple of things I want to pick up, Chris, here is one of the similarities that you mentioned, and I experienced the same thing, is my mentor. He gave me a book at a time. I mean, he was like a reverse psychology guy. I mean, he mentored Steve Jobs. So and then somehow destiny got him to mentor me. So I'm really blessed from that perspective. His name is Jack Bilo. He was the founding father of Data General. And Sanjeet's 10th birthday, he put Steve Jobs on the speakerphone to say happy birthday to Sanjeev. So that's how this guy is. He gave me a book and he said, read this book. I read this book and I thought, pardon my French here, I don't want to say that because it's getting recorded. It was such a bad book for me, I thought. That was Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. I did not understand a thing. And then he asked me, he said, what do you think of the book? And I said, it's the worst book I read. He said, okay, let's talk about it 10 years later. And I really enjoyed the book 10 years later. so I mean, that shows that I have evolved from what I was, right? And that is exactly, I can relate to Chris because he read the book. I think he heard the podcast on that, and I can tell you that book is like an amazing book. I think it was before 1950s, Chris, because
59, I think
the setting was Second World War, that time frame. So maybe she kind of wrote after that, but amazing book. 2 cents for me. What I'm gonna say is, for me, I never care for what people say. I'm so into myself. I love myself so much that what I do is the best thing I've done, you know, and then I judge myself and I go, maybe I can do it better. So I repeat the process, you know, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and see where I can get. And the one thing that Chris said reverberated in my mind for at least 5 minutes, and that was, when you do it 100 times, then you go back and you see, you know, where you are, right? You know, and for me, uh, I'm very meticulous, and Chris knows this. I mean, I have like every single life experience I have recorded somewhere. You know, so 100 times I can put 100, all the 100 here, and I can say which one did I do the best, right? You know, and it doesn't matter. For me, it even does not matter if my wife says, "What a great job you did." It doesn't matter to me. It matters to me if I tell myself that I have done a fantastic job. You know, and I dread the day when I feel that I have accomplished something. Because if I feel that I have accomplished something, then I'm scared to death that I don't have anything else to do. I want to continue to do it, continue to do it, continue to do it, you know, and that's why I try to, I mean, I'm totally immersed in Freedom Motors, but I try to spend as much time for Chris as possible because I like to do those things, and I don't want that to stop.
I don't think it's gonna stop.
No, the way I think we are good for life now, and Chris and I, you know, and I'm very happy for him. In the last 1 year, I've seen the changes in his life, and I've seen him as a more happy person, and also I'm very happy for him. So for that, yeah.
And that's really sweet. Like I love when people are celebrating other people's success, and that is so important
Yeah.
because there's a room for growth for everybody. And some people are thinking like, no, I gotta be the best at this. There's room for everybody. You can get inspired, celebrate other people's victories, and just because they're doing well, it doesn't mean that they're taking from you. Maybe you focus on you. What can you do to get better?
Yeah. Chris's point, there is one point that he never tells you, but you will see when you interact more with him. He does not hides or manifest, but he says all. I mean, like if he sees a good point in you, it doesn't matter who you are. He's gonna say, "Oh my God, this is really good. I've learned this," you know, and then immediately you see that him practice too, and that's the most important thing. You know, that is like the amazing thing about him. You know, that he makes a point to make that change in his life to make it better for himself. I mean, not for others, you know. And he will never admit to that, but he would see it if you pay close attention to him. So.
You have a fan club here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Chris, and Chris is a big fan of mine. I'm a big fan of Setsi, and
Now I am gonna become a big fan of Chris too, because I'm your big fan too.
it's all fun, you know. It's all fun. I'm a huge fan of her husband. I mean, I love his demeanor. I mean, you should meet Coach Chris.
One day.
And he's like he's like a different person. I mean, like he's like a totally different person. Yeah. Incredible thought process, you know, but the way he puts that, you know how people put like puzzles perfectly in their mind when they're doing things. That's how he is. You know, he lays it perfectly before he, you know, says what he has to say. Yeah.
I think there are two types of personalities in people, more artistic and creative, and more numbers people. And Chris is the numbers, I'm the art.
Yeah. Oh, Chris is ENTJ, if I'm not wrong.
He's what?
He's ENTJ. He's more artistic. He's
No, I'm talking about my Chris.
Oh, you're Chris. Okay.
I'm talking about Christian that is a numbers guy. For Chris, I don't know. For this Chris, I don't know.
Chris is recently engaged, so
yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. So when is the wedding?
We still haven't said anything yet. We got to look at a little bit of an immigration thing first. So she is overseas right now.
That's super exciting. Congratulations, guys. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. I don't want to hold you back. I know you're super busy and I feel terrible right now for holding you so long. And we're going to chat again soon. Probably we're going to meet in person. Chris, I wish you all the best, sending all the positive energy. Thank you so much for showing up here with Mrs. Nobody. And Subhash, I'll talk to you later for scheduling our interview. And that's that. Thank you guys so much.